The trouble I see with F&B is that technology, the little technology in F&B is really always been focused on the guest, talking about the tablet that you're going to put at the table, or how the guest ordering experience is going to go, or something like that. But in the back of the house, there's very little technology. There's a lot of manual pen and paper. There's a lot of phone calls and text messages. There's a lot of Excel documents for inventory and managing recipes. And the reality is you can't do anything with that data when it's in siloed.
Picture this: the heartbeat of any hotel, the food and beverage department. But behind the savory scents and sizzling sounds, there's a silent struggle. I struggle to keep up with evolving technology, rising costs, and the ever-pressing demand for a seamless guest experience. In an industry where every dish, drink, and detail matter, how can hotels innovate without breaking the bank? Welcome back to the Schulering Hub Talking Hospitality podcast. I'm Mauricio Schiller, your host, and today we are diving deep into the world of food and beverage with someone who knows exactly how tech can transform it from the inside out. Joining us is Bill Green from Rico. His expertise: using artificial intelligence and smart systems to streamline F&B like never before. Think simplified procurement, real-time recipe costing, and even predictive forecasting. Bill is here to uncover the magic and the mayhem that tech brings to hotel food and beverage. But first, we are starting with the human side. How did a class clown with dreams of LA's entertainment industry find himself revolutionizing hotel kitchens? You're about to find out. By the end of this episode, we'll walk away with a fresh perspective on food and beverage. Whether you are looking to cut costs, ramp up efficiency, or understand the trends that could define the future, this conversation with Bill Green will give you a front row seat to the future of hospitality tech. Let's dive in and learn something new with Schulering today. What's up, hospitality? Welcome back to another episode of the Schulering Hub podcast, Talking Hospitality. If you're new here, I'm your host, Mauricio Schiller. And today we are going to be talking about food and beverage and how technology is changing the industry of food and beverage. For this, I invited Bill Green for Rico to chat with us. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mauricio. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Bill. And we're going to be talking about how technology is changing the food and beverage sector in the hotel industry, but mainly trying to focus on reducing expenses and improving efficiencies, really, right? But on my research, I found that it's changing so much. There are so many elements of technology that are getting into the industry right now that I know that we won't cover it all, but I hope that we can at least get some understanding around what is coming. But Bill, before we talk and educate our audience on that, we always start with the human side first. For us, it's really important to get to know who you are. And I start always with a little question. So what type of teenager were you? A troublemaker or the one that liked to sit in the front row?
I don't know. I was a bit of a mix of both. I really cared a lot about my grades because I knew that I needed to get financial aid or a scholarship to go to college. But I was on the sports teams. I was the person who always tried to make everyone laugh. I was definitely a class clown. So I'd say a little bit of both. I think my teachers overall would say 90% I was a good student and 10% I was a troublemaker.
Yeah, wow. I think that we are very alike on that part. We are very alike. So Bill, how did you move on from being the class clown to get all the way to hospitality and helping Rico to develop their systems and programs?
Yeah, so how it got me into hospitality is around the same period of time. So I started my first job ever, 12 or 13 years old, was working at a pretzel stand in a mall. I also worked at McDonald's, Pizza Hut, the local ice cream shop. So I really worked in restaurants and F&B all throughout leading up to college, and a little bit in college, I started working in hotels. I was a room attendant, For a few months, I'm not fit for that job. I really, really, really respect people that are room attendants and housekeepers after trying to do that job, especially in the Lakes region during Bike Week with all the bikers and the parties that they would throw. Very difficult job. And I was also a front desk attendant for a year. And during that time, I was also studying at UNH entrepreneurship, and part of my requirements was to get an internship. And so I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at the time. Really, a bigger part of me wanted to go into music and the entertainment industry at that time. I was young. I had big dreams of going out to LA and making it in that scene. But I knew I needed to also have a career, and I went to school for business. So it made sense. So I started looking around at the different possibilities, and one came by that drew my attention called Newmarket International. Later, it's become Amadeus, which most people probably are familiar with, or one part of Amadeus. And lucky enough, it was the easiest one that I could get to. It was close to my school, it worked with my schedule, and they got amazing reviews as being a great place to work for. And it was really the best decision because I haven't looked back. It's been about 13 years since then, and I'm still selling hospitality technology. I'm still talking with and networking with the same group of great professionals that I was able to grow with there, and really got to learn from some of the best. So I learned how amazing this industry is, and luckily I'm still here now with Rico.
Yeah, that's super cool, because from starting from the McDonald's and working all your way up, I also did some housekeeping job when I was in New Zealand. It is tough, I agree with you. Much respect for everyone in the industry working at the room attendants. And getting to Amadeus, and I've been actually getting some guests here in the show from Amadeus, and it's amazing people, a lot of knowledge to share, and they are open to share, and I think that growing that environment should be a very big boost for anyone's career. So well done on that. But now you got to Rico. So just explain to us a little bit what Rico does, and then we can get to the chat.
Yeah, so kind of the high-level elevator pitch for Rico. So Rico takes care of all the hotel's procure-to-pay processes. So simplifying their procurement process by using AI and the ability to purchase from all their vendors with just a few clicks in one marketplace, receive goods in record time, manage your recipes digitally, tracking your real-time food costs, being able to manage inventory, and then also automate all of your AP processes, your GL coding and budget forecasting that you need to do after every invoice, as well as the ability to pay your vendors and be able to get rebates back and make sure that your vendors are being paid on time without human effort.
Nice. Okay, so as you explained, I can see already that you speak to a lot of people that have a lot of pressure into the bottom line, and you are there to solve the problems. Maybe sometimes you guys cannot, but you learn a lot from the people that you speak to. And that's why I think that's going to be very valuable for our audience here to understand a little bit more of the technology around food and beverage, and trying to get the best we can and the best content we can for them to evolve their systems and get their food and beverage sector into a profitable machine, right? Because from my understanding, from some of the interviews we've done before, food and beverage can go either way. It can really be a money pit, or it can really shine and be the flag of the restaurant. So if we could get from the people that you know and you speak to, what makes a very good and profitable food and beverage sector for the hotel industry?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that question, and I don't know if necessarily a lot of hoteliers are, comfortable with this and at a point where they'd like to be. But the biggest thing is you need to be able to have data, and you need to be able to efficiently act on data. The trouble I see with F&B is that technology, the little technology in F&B is really always been focused on the guest, talking about the tablet that you're going to put at the table, or how the guest ordering experience is going to go, or something like that. But in the back of the house, there's very little technology. There's a lot of manual pen and paper. There's a lot of phone calls and text messages. There's a lot of Excel documents for inventory and managing recipes. And the reality is you can't do anything with that data when it's in siloed systems. So I think the ones that are profitable are probably the ones that are introducing technology as best they can to the back of the house to solve that problem. They're facing a lot of issues. There's labor concerns, there's food cost concerns, there's energy concerns, and they're fighting a tough battle where, especially in hotel, F&B has been kind of thought of as an afterthought many times. So that'd be the other thing I would say. F&B, what I've seen a lot in articles this year is that people are worrying that F&B in hotels needs to evolve. We need to evolve past the chicken tenders and fries, the basic salad and the flatbread type menu, and give the guests what they want. When guests travel, they typically want a unique experience. So give them that unique experience that meets the area of which your hotel's operating. And that could be as simple as just having a flatbread that has, the right ingredients on it that makes me feel like I'm in the South. Whether that's a pulled pork barbecue flatbread because I'm in Tennessee, and that's what I want to have when I go to Tennessee. The guests, they have so much ability to research and through social to find areas near your hotel to go out to eat instead. So what you want to do is make sure that you're on par with them so that they don't have a reason to leave.
When we're speaking about this, it's just like gave me some warmth to come to my heart when you spoke about really getting into the guest desire and offering that with the menu, right? And it seems quite simple. It seems quite obvious when we think. However, getting that data from the guest and understanding why they are coming here, is it, when it comes to data, do you think that it's more important to collect the data from the guests or more to understand your location and having that mission behind your food and beverage offerings?
Yeah, I think in terms of getting the data from the guest, I'm not an expert in how hotels do this and how they can get that data. But I think, your guests are constantly giving you data through reviews, through experiences, posting on social, things like that. So if you have the right tools to be able to ingest that data and be able to run AI or be able to give you suggestions, there's certainly, I bet the data is available for them to, optimize those menus more to what people want. Now, I think the other side of it, since we're talking about expenses and profitability, is absolutely you can take data and make your F&B outlet more profitable. And by making your F&B outlet more profitable, it's just overall going to help everyone. It's going to make your team want to stay. Running a nice restaurant that's efficient and doing well makes your team want to stay. So it's going to help with your labor concerns that you're potentially going to have. It's going to help have continuity. And then by being able to bring data to the back of the house, it means the people in the back of the house are focused just on the guest experience. Yep. So instead of doing stuff on the computer, they can spend that extra 5 hours and start going into the data about what the guest wants, or go and walk the floor and talk to the guest. I don't know how many times you see a chef, walking the floor these days. I never really see it. But I think it'd be quite a nice experience if there was a little bit more speaking to the guests when you're actually dining, rather than people being completely overwhelmed in the back of the house.
Yeah, that would be very cool, actually. You're very right on that. And you mentioned about some pressures, right, that the food and beverage is facing right now. You just listed some, like the food costs, labor costs, energy costs, now sustainability. That actually it's something that's important, and it is an extra cost until we figure out how to do that better. From the customer that you speak to, which ones are the ones that making the most pressure to the operations?
Yeah, so definitely labor costs. And if you've been around hospitality ever since COVID, you've heard that there's huge issues with labor costs. And the reality is that hotels do need to pay more for that labor, and it's harder for them to get that labor. And if they don't have the labor, that means overtime and all sorts, and meaning having to go out and hiring and the expenses with that, the effort with that. So labor, I would say, is definitely a big one. But the other one is the fluctuating cost of food and how little data or how little people are acting on it. So, beef's an example right now that's raising in cost. But by the time that people are going to really know that or going to see that data, going to action on it, there could have been 3 to 6 months where they missed an opportunity to maybe change the menu price or to change some of the offerings on their menu to say go with chicken or pork, because chicken and pork are actually increasing in supply or lowering in price right now, where beef's going up. So maybe for our fall menu, we want to have our special be pork or chicken related rather than beef related because of how that cost is fluctuating.
And can technology actually help the chef or help the back of the house to understand this fluctuation in costs and the fluctuation in the prices and plan a better menu for themselves?
Yeah. Well, if you think about technology in general, technology is a tool to help humans make decisions faster and make smarter decisions. Mm-hmm. So in this case, being able to know the prices across all of your suppliers for the same items and being able to just purchase and have a system tell you the best place to purchase that from, there's immediate savings both in labor and in the cost of goods. Being able to surface things like, last year, when was this ingredient the cheapest? And being able to start forecasting things based off different times of the year, so you can come out with different seasonal menus that are more profitable at those times of the year and are offering your guests, something different, something unique, something that maybe fits more into the season. And being able to have that data instantly. So, knowing as soon as you're not in compliance on certain items and then making adjustments for that. So, a couple examples. You notice how servers are trained. They're trained to upsell certain items, or they're trained to talk about certain items.
Sure.
Well, they don't know probably which ones are the most profitable. But it's so easy to give them that data if you have a system that's able to give that to you. And if your purchasing and recipe system is tied to your POS, you're going to always know what your margins are, and you're going to always know which ones sell the most, and be able to have a really smart strategy of which ones your servers are suggesting, but also maybe which one on the tablet when they scan the menu shows up at the top, or which one shows up under specials, and really get creative there to just incrementally improve your margins.
And when it comes to that, it's just, do you see a lot of restaurants or hotels indeed actually working with systems that get the best of the costs and can word that to their staff in a way that they understand to pass it through? How would be the best way to kind of train the staff on understanding that?
Yeah, I don't think I see it quite often or as much as I would like to right now. I think traditionally there's been tools in place that help with these items, but traditionally they've been very difficult to use or a very high cost of implementation and training. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it's very difficult to have it work in hospitality. There's just, one, the budgets aren't necessarily huge for new technology. And then also with your labor changing all the time, it's very difficult to bring in something that's complex and then have staff that's going to be able to use it efficiently the year after the following year when there's going to be changeover. So I think a lot of people are still purchasing and managing recipes manually. They're still calling suppliers. They're still having them drop by and putting in their order that way. They're still going to supplier websites. And they just find that that's easier for them right now. And maybe it's just easier to not even think about it or not even worry about it. I would guess that most hotels have zero idea. Let's not say zero. I would say most hotels have very little idea right now what their real-time recipe costs are and how they could optimize their purchasing. And if you had a system like Rico, to do a little plug, you'd be able to easily do that and be able to surface those insights.
Yeah, sure. And now just thinking through, you're talking about the data, and the hotel industry is capable of collecting a lot of data. There are so many systems assisting the hotels to actually collect data. And I believe that one of the main problems with the industry is not collecting data, but actually wisely working with this data and applying this data somehow, right? And then AI comes to play, right? And AI, basically, that's what it is. It's organizing the data in a smart way. But hotels are jumping into it in a different, missing the point, kind of, just going to the marketing side and missing the point of using actually AI to organize the data that matters. And how can AI improve the efficiency of the food and beverage sector?
Yeah, so great points. I just went to the Destination AI event last Thursday in Washington, D.C., and the biggest thing that everyone talked about was the importance of getting your data together first. So all the major brands spoke and they said, we started 5 years ago collecting data and making sure we all had data all in one system because we're not going to be able to do anything with AI until we've solved that problem. Now, I think the biggest problem for hotels is that, yes, there is a ton of data, but the problem is that data is often siloed in those systems. So your PMS holds certain data, your sales and catering has other data, your accounting has data, your business intelligence, budgeting tool, Profit Sword, something like that has data. And then you also have your procure to pay or, your purchasing data, inventory, recipes from F&B. And, not just talking about F&B, but really throughout the whole entire property. And how are you able to do anything with this data if it's all living in siloed systems and with siloed departments? So something that I'm very passionate about, and I think the whole industry is trying to move towards this as we update our tech, is that technology systems have to integrate. They have to be able to speak to each other, and more than they traditionally have in the past. And the ultimate goal is being able to get all that data and put it all into one system. And then what I think is going to happen, or what we've seen happen, is now you're going to be able to run Gen AI type activities based off that data. So let's say if we have all that data in one place, and I'll just use an example of someone who's doing it in a different way, and then you can kind of think about how it could relate to F&B. So Stay Pineapple has a tool called Chat Pineapple, and it's basically a database of all their systems, processes, everything their employees need to know about how to do their job, but also, when their PTO time is and things like that. And being able to talk to it like it's ChatGPT and ask it questions so that they can do their job better. Now, let's evolve that to F&B. How great would it be if I could ask something, give me my most profitable recipes right now? How could I make those recipes more profitable? And we're getting actionable insights, and it's telling us in real time how we can improve our business every day. Next step is it's just suggesting. It knows the goals that we have. It's suggesting how to get there. And it's really taking away all that back of the house thinking, calculating, sitting on the computer that's in some dark desk away from everyone, and getting rid of all that so hospitality workers can focus just on hospitality. The reason why they're in the industry, hospitality people are not there to spend time on the computer. They're time to make a great experience for the guests, whether they're a chef, a general manager, a housekeeping supervisor, no matter who they are. They're there because they like to be around people and help people.
Amazing points there, Bill. Amazing points. Just thank you for sharing that. When we come to implementation of technology, we had some discussions before with Custodio Barreiros here, with Jasmine Saliga, someone that you know well. And implementation of technology is always a headache when it comes to the industry in general, right? What do you see happening when you help Rico to actually get into a hotel? What are the headaches that the independent hoteliers should be aware of when implementing some new food and beverage technology in their system? Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying this show and if you're learning something new today, please consider following the show, subscribe to our channel, or leave us a review. It helps us to help more people through the podcast, and it would mean the world to us. Thank you for listening, and we're back on the chat.
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is the simpler the better. I think that's just the motto for really anything in life, but definitely tech installation, especially in hospitality space, the simpler you can make it, the better. We talk about how overworked all these people are on the front lines, but then we're asking them to implement new technology. So we need to do that in a way that is so simple for them that it does not cause any issues for them in the short term, rather than an extra hour or two, having to work towards a better outcome in the future. But it can't end up becoming half their job implementing technology for 2 months for something or for a year for something that's going to change in the future. So making it very simple and just focusing on what's most important and then being able to grow from there. Something that we often talk to with customers, one example is a lot of them are manually doing accounting. They're manually entering all the data from their invoice for their their weekly F&B order, and someone is manually entering that into the accounting system, doing the GL coding, and sending it to the accounting system. So being able to just remove that piece can save, 5 hours a week, just for a department manager. And so if that's what's really causing them issues, is that they need 5 more extra hours to their week, then let's just automate the accounting process and take that off their plate first. And then from there, you can grow. So when you look for solutions, start small, make it simple, but also find solutions that you can grow with. Don't just go for a solution that's going to fix problem A, but has no ability to fix problem B, C, D, and E in the future, and those problems are connected. So if you start small with a partner that's willing to grow with you and can help you fix your most immediate need, I think that's one thing that people, hoteliers can do to make it better. The other thing I think is take those people on those teams and make sure they're involved in the process. As a seller, I typically would not like to bring on, extra people into a decision process. But the reality is they deserve to know what's coming, and they deserve to have their input into how it will help them. So really talk to the people on the front lines, make them involved in the decision and involved in the direction, and they're going to be much more receptive to wanting to move forward with that technology and be there for the long run.
When it comes to guest-facing technology, it's something that probably hoteliers or the food and beverage managers like to invest more because it's just that first thing that they see, right? It's not the back of the house, not seeing something hidden at the back, but something that they can show and shine and share on their social media. What are the actual important guest-facing technologies that you see coming up that can help the back of the house as well with data collection, if all that stuff we've been talking about?
It's a great question, and I'd be open to, if anyone's listening, to share some ideas with me, because I haven't seen too many guest-facing technologies for F&B. I'll be honest, I think F&B is something that when you go out to eat, it's to be social. So where technology like AI might help in things like pre-planning or, while you're trying to get some things done while you're in the room, I think when you go to F&B, a lot of times it's to escape technology. So I still think of it as just the technology that's guest-facing should kind of amplify the direction that you're going with your space. So graduate hotels, they're college hotels. Now, I'm not sure if this was in their F&B, but they added screen projectors that play the college football game every single weekend. They're right on college campuses. They bring in people just to probably watch the game, who then, spend money on F&B, who later might visit or tell their friends whenever they're coming into town that this is the hotel to visit. So I still think of it like the technology guest-facing, like electronics, things like that. I think one thing we talked about a little bit, the menus that people are putting at the tables, I think those are cool, and I think the ability to have those be evolving and to be able to change those in an instance are really cool. So you can change menus more frequently if you want, or you can, like I said earlier, make sure the most profitable dishes are being featured on those menus.
And if we are jumping to the future, and I always make a disclaimer before asking this question, because we are not trying to predict the future, but it's more like a game, a brainstorm game that we play to get some inspiration to our audience. So the idea here is that if you jump to any of our podcasts that we have recorded, we are almost 90 of them, and there is a guest that maybe you like or a subject that maybe you like, and you go to the last 5 minutes of the podcast, you get what our guest is speaking about, their vision of the future, and it's just a brainstorm exercise to think, wow, I never thought about that before. So that's that disclaimer. We are not trying to predict the future. Don't put all your money on what we say here, okay? Disclaimer done. Bill, when it comes to the future of food and beverage, and the technology in itself, what do you think that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years in that field?
Yeah, so I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think everything is going to be integrated, and hotel F&B is going to be more integrated as part of the hotel. It's going to be thought of as, one entity. It contributes to the profits for the hotel, both in revenue from the F&B outlet as well as room revenue, and can help bring in more revenue. But everything is going to be integrated. I mean this in like POS, PMS, accounting, sales and catering, business intelligence is going to be also integrated into your back of the house restaurant software. And some of the things that I see that could happen there that could be really cool is being able to start analyzing the data of what our occupancy is. What's the mix of that occupancy? Like, is it group? Is it leisure? Is it business? When we have that occupancy with those mixes, how many people are going to the F&B outlet? Can we start to forecast what we're going to need for workers, but take it a step further? How can we start to forecast what we're going to need for inventory, what we're going to need for purchasing? Also, based off the banquets that we have in-house, How can we make smarter purchasing for that? Do we have the inventory on hand already? Do we need to purchase for it? Taking all of these things that happen in silos and putting them all together so that using AI, you're being able to predict and make the best decisions at all times without any human input by having everything integrated. And then the next step, and I really don't think we're that far from it, is then having that layer of the ChatGPT-like functionality that you're going to be able to then prompt across all of your systems, all of your data, to be able to get anything you want to know about the financial performance and how how to improve it, different things like that, by just asking questions.
I just imagine like our audience listening to it, and there's food and beverage managers like having like a little bit of a thrill imagining things happening with one click and everything happening at once. But everything starts from one point, right? Everything starts by getting that data somehow in a place where you can analyze after, right? So if you're listening to here, get to that first step. What else should they do, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, the first takeaway, that's it. Make sure that you have data in a system where it's usable. If you have pen and paper at your hotel, get rid of it. If you have clipboards in your inventory locations, get rid of them. If your recipes are living in the computer of your chef in Excel, you don't have to get rid of it, but you got to fix that process, because the reality is that it's probably not going to get updated, and in a year from now, that chef might no longer be there. And so you're going to have to recreate that data anyways. So data, make sure that you have a data strategy, and then from there, start thinking about how you can use AI. We know AI is coming. I mean, AI has been around really forever. It helps us make decisions quicker and faster and that are better. Let's make sure that we have the data so that we can start to use AI in the future. And then as that happens, I agree with all the people that have come out and said, AI is not going to replace humans, especially in hospitality. You can't replace humans in hospitality. And if people try, I really think that they're going to fail. I think the future is humans with AI making better decisions versus humans who are reluctant to AI, still trying to do old, inefficient processes.
Awesome. That's awesome answer, Bill. And if our audience here wants to learn more from you and try to get some help organizing their data, or just to get some knowledge about some Rico or anything that you can help, how they can contact you?
Yeah, so you can email me at billg@rico.io. You can visit our website, rico.io. Or the best way to contact me probably is on LinkedIn. If you search Bill Green, I'm sure you'll find me. And I'll probably have the green dot on because I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. So I look forward to connecting with anyone that would like to. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Bill, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for sharing your time, sharing your expertise. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that you have enjoyed and the audience will take a lot from it.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here.
A pleasure. Thank you very much, Schulering. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.